is going to be Max Kaiser's latest special on Monsanto that is very avant-garde for something like RT. I mean, for mainline television, it is pretty risque. Because they are a litigious lot, to say the least. But Max Kaiser is our guest. We're going to take a few more calls, and then in our final segment with Max, we're going to get more into some other news items I want to raise and other points that he thinks is important on the radar for 2011. Again, if you don't know who I am, I'm Alex Jones. If you're driving along, listening to us for the first time, I'm a syndicated radio host. I've been on air now almost 16 years. And, of course, I'm a documentary filmmaker, and our news websites are Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com, and PrisonPlanet.tv. Max Kaiser is the inventor of the Hollywood Stock Exchange predictive trading system, widely used in a lot of other systems today. He also has hosted TV shows in the U.S., England, you name it, and is an analyst, just an overall pundit analyzing what's happening. I want to get more into gold and silver and the type of manipulation we've seen today trying to drive it down that's always, in the last few years, been followed by even bigger heights, and when he sees it going back up. But Sonny in Indiana, you've been a real trooper. You're on the air with Max Kaiser. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. It's so great to talk to you, and thank you to you and Max and everybody in your team. You've been super empowering and inspirational. My family and I have been following you for 6 years now. And I called today. I just wanted to let you know about our efforts in the info war. My daughter is 8 years old, and we talked about it and decided that out of all the issues that you cover, chemtrails have been the most obvious. Everybody can see it. You know, all you got to do is walk outside and look up. And she decided to make bracelets in an effort to fund the coalition against geoengineering. And she has a little Etsy page. It's called blueskybracelets.etsy.com. And I just wanted to let you and your listeners know about that, and hopefully we'll raise some awareness.
Absolutely. Get the truth out, Sonny. And geoengineering, I think I mentioned this earlier with Max. I mean, they've gone from denying all this to now we learn governments, private corporations, they're doing it everywhere. And Bill Gates has bought heavily into it. And we know that they can manipulate the weather. And Max, there's a lot of evidence that they are already engaging in drought creation and other things. We know the CIA has been caught releasing insects, you name it, different bacterial or fungus infections. And there's a lot of evidence that we're under attack here as well, not just by government, but big agribusiness. Max Kaiser, appreciate the call, Sonny.
Geoengineering is obviously a disaster. I mean, the same people who are destroying the geology and the environment, how are they going to come up with a plan to reverse it? You know, it's ridiculous. But let me make 2 or 3 quick points, if I might, on the trend watch. Number 1, seasteading. You know what that is?
Well, you know what? I would love to know what it is. We've got to reconnect again for the final segment coming up. You've been with us for an hour now, or over an hour, and your phone faded out once. Now it's doing it again. So we're going to call you right back, Max, with a fresh line, because I want to hear these trends. We're not going to just get your predictions, but your trends in 2011 coming up, and what people can individually do to respond to all this corruption. And there's now a new video out that we've got up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that I'm really hot to play after Max leaves us, coming up here in about 15 minutes or so. I want to play this video / audio on air for all the listeners. But while we're waiting for Max to come back, let's get John in Georgia on. John, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, Alex. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, sir.
Good. I'm a long-time listener and long-time researcher and first-time caller. First of all, I wanted to make a couple of real quick points to Max Kaiser, if he's back on. He mentioned the pollution, involved with the bird incident, and I wanted to just mention that the biggest polluters in history, of course, have traditionally been totalitarian governments. And of course,
yeah, look at Russia, look at China. I mean, it's classic.
Exactly. And the second point was he had advised some aspiring young journalist to purchase a new dictionary, and I would revise that to say he needs to buy an 1848 Webster's dictionary, and he might get some accurate
I tell you what, John, stay there. Not only is John cogent and focused and well-spoken, he has something I don't ever really hear anymore, a telephone I can actually understand. This is magic right now. We talk about a lot of negative stuff here, but that overall is positive. If we don't expose the bad, then we can't protect the good. And I just want to say this. We have a wonderful planet. There are so many good people. There are so many beautiful and wonderful and honorable things in this world. My family is so great. My wife, my children. It is just magic and wonderful how good it is. And that's why I get disgusted and angry at the globalist, at the New World Order system, because I know they've made decisions to hate their fellow humankind and to do really bad things. I know they've committed crime upon crime upon crime, and I'm tired of them. But John in Georgia, we got Max back on another line from France. Restate your questions quickly, and then I want to get Max's take, and then you counter back. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make that point about the dictionary. You know, he recommended that to an aspiring young journalist, and I would recommend that he get an 1848 Webster's dictionary, and he might have some accurate definitions.
Yeah, they have been memory holding a lot of the definitions, but you also wanted to point out that authoritarian systems always create the worst environments, where the Russians would just throw reactors in a lake, communist Chinese, their rivers just set on fire. And I mean, was that directed at Max? I mean...
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, just talking about it, the dictionary immediately opened up a conversation about the dictionary. You know, so immediately the knowledge is infectious. So you're saying, oh, 1848 dictionary. Okay, I will. I'm going to check it out. So this is what we're talking about. When you start talking about the actual words to go into the sentences, that go into the paragraphs, that go into the pages, that go into the essays, that go into the screeds, that go into the Constitution, it all starts with words. And when you're talking about words, there's a place to go find words. Most people you talk to today who say, oh, I'm a journalist, they don't really know much about words, and yet words are the fundamental particle of the journalistic trade. So get familiar with words.
Yes, interesting point, Max. Anything else, John?
Oh, yeah. The reason for my call initially, the bird story. I was watching NBC Nightly News last night with Brian Williams, and they were trying to find all these possible explanations for these tens of thousands of blackbirds dropping out of the air. And I'm from Arkansas. I grew up there. And, of course, it's one of the greatest duck hunting states or places in North America. So, you know, I thought I'd, he mentioned, what he mentioned just blew me away. He said that, well, it could be fireworks combined with celebratory gunfire. And when he came up with that, I thought, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, Arkansas is not Baghdad. There is not celebratory fire going on.
Celebratory gunfire. That blew me away. So I thought I'd tell you a story, maybe, a little bit. Back in the 1970s, I lived on the left coast, and I was a manufacturer's rep for firearms manufacturers. And one of the companies we represented was Beretta. They make a very high-quality line of high-end shotguns, and so occasionally we'd run across a buyer that we'd want to take back to Arkansas to go duck hunting. And, I thought to myself, oh, yeah, we'd go out in those soybean fields, and we'd pop out of the blinds and fire, 2 or 3 shots because we had over and unders or plugged, barrels. But, it didn't take much. You couldn't miss. There'd be clouds of 500,000 that would darken the sky. And, one shot would be enough. The rest would all die of heart attacks. And we'd just be pelted and rained on. It would destroy the cars and everything. And if you believe that, why... I just wanted to comment and say, no, this is absolutely insanity that they actually believe that the American public would accept a story like that.
Well, you're right. Max, what's your take on that?
Well, look this up. I think a lot of you will find this very fascinating. Do you remember that show Flipper on TV with the dolphin?
Well, look, I mean, I know about...
Let me finish. Do you remember that show Flipper on TV?
Yeah, I thought you were asking a question. Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, okay. Flipper, at the end of his life, a lot of people don't realize this, but Flipper committed suicide. Flipper the dolphin committed suicide. Animals can commit, look it up on Google that, you'll find out that Flipper committed suicide. Animals commit suicide.
Yeah, well, birds will pull their feathers out and peck themselves to death.
I've had it with humans, and they're committing suicide. They've had it. They're sick of us, and they'd rather kill themselves than live another day with these disgusting pig human beings.
Max, let me ask you a question. How do the birds pulverize their organs into liquid blood? They're claiming just bumping into each other would do this. I've shot plenty of dove and quail about the same size as these starlings. And let me just tell you, when little BBs hit them with a lot more force than birds colliding, nothing turns to mush. It just shoots little holes through them. And then you take the breast out and marinate it and cook it. I mean, this is impossible, this liquefying of the organs, unless they had Ebola and they don't have any disease. This is a real whodunit mystery here. What do you think's going on, John? Do you think Al-Qaeda did it?
I was joking, about the gunfire and thinking that they would, just masses would die of heart attacks. That's just absolutely ludicrous. But anyway, what I think did it, I think the chemtrails are doing it, if you want my honest opinion. They're spraying aluminum oxide, barium, and strontium into the atmosphere. You can test the snow on Mount Shasta and find it. You can test it because that's the water supply for Northern California. And you can test it. There's been several places that it's been tested. And of course, when they get caught, they claim they're not doing it. They're just planning to do it. Or they say that, well, maybe we're trying to prevent global warming or whatever excuse they can. But, the real reason, the real motivation is absolutely that they want to do damage to the health of the average American
Well, they're a bunch
person.
of chicken neck eugenics lunatics like John P. Holdren. I mean, they put on TV ads. I had an article about this yesterday, didn't get to it, where they're now airing other ads where they're blowing kids up in school. They don't accept carbon taxes, where people are murdered. I mean, they're really pumping this anti-human view. And I understand Max is angry about real, legitimate decadence that's disgusting to all of us. But, I think empowering and uplifting humanity is the answer. I appreciate your call, John. Max, what do you see as the big trends in 2011? I mean, really mining down into brass tacks. What do you think the best investments are from a Max Kaiserian perspective?
Well, just to follow up, right now in the Southern Ocean, in Antarctica, the Sea Shepherd, which is a group of conservationists, are doing battle against Japanese whalers. Now, they've taken the fight right to the Japanese whalers on behalf of their clients, as they call them, the whales. That's the kind of direct action needed to protect the animal species, because the animal species, as Einstein said about the bees, Einstein made a very famous quote about the bee population. Mm-hmm. If the bee population were to go extinct, humans would become extinct within, I think he said, something like 2 or 3 years. And this is what we're talking about. The bees cross-fertilize the agricultural products, and Monsanto is never going to come up with synthetic food to replace the entire ecosystem that's been in place for millions of years that we rely on for life. And direct action, like Captain Paul Watson of the Sea Shepherd in the Southern Ocean is doing right now. They've got a brilliant show about this on Animal Planet that they have every year now for 4 or 5 years. They document his fight with the Japanese whalers. He's taking direct action to defend the whales. We need to defend